everyone, it's Elizabeth from Astrology at elpasastrology.com. Thanks for joining me today. So today I am going to do the first half of April, an astrological forecast. And of course, as usual, I will have your sun signs and or ascendants towards the end of the video. But I've decided I really need to separate out both the eclipse, the new moon eclipse, and then the full moon in Scorpio into two separate videos because they're both actually really important for April 2024. All right, so this is a really big month. This is probably the biggest month of the year, maybe even more than the year. We have a Mercury retrograde starting right on the 1st, 2nd of April. That's followed on the 8th of April by that total new moon eclipse. We've got Venus in Aries all month, and we've also got something called a Devil Comet, and it's only because it appears like the devil in terms of a visual. I'll talk about that in a minute too. And then we've got Mars that's in Pisces all month as well. All right, so let's start off with this Mercury retrograde. So the 1st, 2nd of April, it will go retrograde at 27 degrees of Aries. And actually the whole retrograde period will be in Aries. It will go direct on the 26th of April at around 15, 16 degrees of Aries. So note whether or not you've got either of these degree points in your chart of significance. So what are we talking about? A sun or a ascendant, or a conglomeration of planets is usually what I'm looking for, maybe even a midheaven as well. Because I think overshadowing the significant things, the conjunctions, like the new moon, which is a conjunction of the moon and the sun, the Uranus and Jupiter conjunction, that this Mercury retrograde is going to play into this month of April with regards to some delays. So there's going to be a lot of good things happen to a lot of good people, but there may also be some upsets too. Now, I would say that for me, this whole Mercury retrograde, certainly once it goes direct on the 26th of April, yay, that will be good. But I'm really going to say that it's got to get out of shadow. And the out of shadow period is going to start on the 14th of May. And so if during this month of April, some of you are, say, in negotiations, or you're almost on the verge of getting things through or getting agreements of some sort. I'm thinking in particular about agreements, contracts, getting your voice across. Don't give up, because really I'm thinking because of the significance of this month and the play in of so many things, we may really have to wait for a signal forward, especially with regards to independence, getting on a new path, expressing your individual self till, that May time period that I've just discussed. But apart from that, we have that total new moon eclipse that is going to be at 19 Aries 23 minutes on the 8th of April, and that will be at 11:20 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. It will be conjuncting Chiron exactly. It will be widely conjuncting the north nodes at 15 Aries. And Mercury will be retrograde at 24 degrees of Aries. We're going to have Mars conjunct Saturn because they're both in Pisces. That's at 13, 14 degrees of Pisces. And there will still be this ongoing, within a few degrees, conjunction of both Jupiter and Uranus in Taurus. We're talking about this 19 to 22 degree point here, right? So really, if you look at the chart here, you can see that Aries is just stacked with regards to influence of any of these planets or luminaries, right? So Aries for sure. And I would say probably all Aries, whether it's an Aries ascendant or Aries sun sign, that you're going to be having some positive change here of some sort, wherever this falls in your chart, right? Now, when we look at the eclipse in terms of, and there's a lot of things published already, I'll put a link below here to a little bit more of a timeline for the eclipse happening. But basically, it does transverse North America. It starts with Mexico and then goes through Texas. And it's in Texas that it really starts its real coming to the actual eclipse point. Then it ends in Maine, and in Canada that would be New Brunswick. So this is pretty significant that this is going through, you know, from the southwest right the way through the northeast. And so there's going to be some kind of new beginning here with regards to, and from a collective standpoint, us moving forward on our individual path. Now, we do know that Mars rules Aries, and Mars likes to take action. So I would say as a month, this is going to be an action month, just from even a collective standpoint. But if you have a lot of planets, angles around these degree points that I've just mentioned, especially for the eclipse, hey, this could be the month that you could take off. Just with that caveat where there may be a few things to tie up in May when we have that Mercury out of shadow. Now, going along with this eclipse, it's not just the eclipse. I mentioned that Devil Comet. Scientifically, what this comet is called is 12P Pons Brooks. This is going to be going on at the same time. And in fact, if you're listening to this video in March, when I'm making it, we have that whole Devil Comet will start its activation close to Earth, or coming towards Earth, in March, mainly towards the latter part of March. So that's going to be an ongoing thing with the full moon eclipse that's going to be happening on the 25th of March, right? So I would say the whole activation of both these eclipses is really going to start in March and then start playing out with intensity once we get into April. Now, this comet that I spoke about will actually have a peak brightness on the 21st of April, and the 24th of April will be its closest approach to the sun. And then on the 2nd of June, the closest to Earth. So these are also dates to pay attention to. We usually look at comets as harbingers of important messages, but this is a process, right? We have this process of this comet starting towards the end of March, ending really when it comes close to Earth on the 2nd of June. And there could be more than one message that comes through here, right? All right. We have that whole Mars that is, as I mentioned, in Pisces all of April. And because it's that ruler of the eclipse in Aries, I think it's an important player here. Now, Mars in Pisces can represent a number of things. It can represent some frustrations where the effect of the Pisces part of it, which can be to obscure, to present some fogginess or unclearness with regards to actions that you may want to take, may be prevalent all month as well as a background noise. So again, don't get frustrated. Just the best way to handle anything like this would be to look carefully at anything that doesn't make sense. That's how I would use this Mars in Pisces all of April, in conjunction with everything else going on. But it can also be a time period of really taking assertive action with regards to what? Our spirituality, the higher points of ourselves. It can also even play out as something like rest. That whole Pisces, that rules the 12th house, and rest is very much something that's emphasized by that 12th house. So you may literally, some of you, take action with regards to, I need to rest more here and take a break. But this whole spiritual aspects, I think, are coming to play here as well. Now, Pisces as a sign also represents water or liquids of any sort, for that matter. And so with a Mars on top of it, which is action and even irritation or aggressiveness, I'm thinking there could be some aggressive action that happens on the waters. Now, we already know in the news that that's happening, but this could increase in April. At its best, Mars in Pisces really speaks to that spiritual warrior, right? And seeking and putting energy into the higher aspects of ourselves. Also, it speaks to putting some kind of action, maybe even plans in place to make our dreams come true. I mean, that's very much a great inspiration for those that are in the music industry, write poetry, and even in the arts. This could be a time to produce some phenomenal stuff, especially in conjunction with that eclipse, the new moon total eclipse, right? All right. The 11th of April, we will have Mars conjunct Saturn at 14 degrees of Pisces. And so look to the southeast sky just before sunrise. You'll see both these planets. You should be able to see them both with your eye, but if you've got binoculars or a telescope, that would be awesome too. But to me, this really emphasizes this whole idea of, because it's in Pisces, this can also represent, this idealism in religion. And so this may also come to the front. But Mars likes to put action. And Saturn says, no, we got to stop here. But favorably, you could put Mars with Saturn and break up structures that need to be broken up. And in Pisces, we're really looking at these idealistic religions. That type of thing, I think, could really come to the fore here, where there may be some aggressive action to do with that somehow. But this can just on its own represent breaking apart structures, right? I want to wish my sister Marianne a very happy birthday. She has a big milestone birthday this year in April. So happy birthday, big sis. I'll talk to you soon. I want to mention one other thing that's going to be in the sky in April time periods. This is towards the beginning of April. So this is like the 6th of April, just before we have that total new moon eclipse in Aries. We're going to have a triple conjunction, and it'll involve the moon, Mars, and Saturn. And look to the southeast before sunrise to see all three of these. You should be able to see. You probably see the moon first, so spot the moon, and then look for both Mars, which will be brighter than Saturn, and then Saturn as well. Maybe bring your binoculars out to take a look at this. Now, in terms of astrology, these are not exact in terms of conjunction, so this is more a visual thing that you will see at sunrise on the 6th of April. And I think this might be a nice time to, usually you don't do meditations or intentions until, after the new moon. But I really got a good feeling about this. So for those that do get up early anyway, this might set up some kind of really nice energy for you to tap into a few days later when we actually have that total new moon eclipse. So next I'm going to do the sun signs and or ascendants. You pick whatever resonates with you. I like to actually listen to both. And we'll do that next. So I want to remind everyone before I start talking about the sun signs that, ongoing with whatever I'm going to talk about, we have another layer. We've got the Mercury retrograde, and I really discussed the Mercury retrograde with regards to the individual ascendants and sun signs in my March video. And the reason I did that was because the shadow period started there. And because this Mercury retrograde is so important, because it ties in with the eclipses directly, look back to my March video if you want to look specifically at the effect of the Mercury retrograde. But understand for all signs, we've got the Mercury retrograde going on until the 26th of April. And then we still have to have it go out of shadow, and that's till the 14th of May. So just bear that in mind. Mercury retrogrades always ask us to rethink things, maybe even to redo things, rewrite things, consider things, that type of thing, right? And that we've got that whole comet called, the Devil Comet, that's also going to be going on, not only for April, but right the way through the beginning of June, bringing us some important messages, right? So when you think about it, the comet's bringing messages, Mercury retrograde's asking us to rethink or redo things, right? Okay, so just bear that in mind. So Sagittarius, wow, so you're a fire sign. And so you know that this total new moon eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries on the 8th of April will be trining your sign. And not only that, you're going to have Mercury retrograde trining, you're going to have Venus trining, and of course the North Nodes trining. Very positive. And this actually emphasizes your 5th house. So your 5th house is what? Your 5th house is children. It is expressing your authentic self. It is starting your own business, for instance. It's creative projects of any sort. It's also having fun too. And Sagittarians certainly like to have fun. So this might just be a whole new start in your whole life of having fun. But it could also be a time period where a true love comes into your life, right? That's really positive for you. And it's a total new moon, so this is a whole new start, potentially with regards to your love life. Yeah. And there could be a destiny thing associated with this in a very positive way. I'm getting this feeling of something being set up that's going to be really positive for some Sagittarians. But having fun could be a big emphasis here for you, where maybe you've had a hard time over the past few years, and you actually see the sun breaking through the clouds and the silver lining appearing for you, right? I'm actually a Sagittarian sun sign, and this exactly, this eclipse trines not only my sun, but exactly trines my north nodes of the moon, because I was born on an eclipse. And it also very widely trines my Mercury. So I'm expecting big things for myself in a positive way too. Okay, so when we look at that Mars and Saturn in Pisces, it squares your sign Sagittarius, and it squares the 4th house. And so what this is saying to me is, I'm thinking of a couple things. So for those Sagittarians that have a lot of, say, reconstruction going on, or deconstruction going on, or construction going on in their home, this is just a little bit of a frustrating energy where you wish it would all be over with, but you can't see that that's going to happen, especially in the month of April. And so it just brings in a little bit of frustration here, where you're going to have to maybe work with people, maybe men in particular, because that's Mars, to overcome something with regards to your home. Now, it's not just your home, your physical home. It can also be your birth home as well. There may be something up with that, where there's some difficulties. Saturn can also represent the law, the rules, the regulations. Maybe you're butting heads with this type of thing too, and you're going to have to think outside the box, and apply those rules and regulations that you have to a home. Maybe it's building a new home, acquiring a new home. But it's also your mother, as well as, by extension, your family. So there may just be some, I'm thinking about consternations or disagreements going on here. Mars with Saturn. Mars wants to move forward, and Saturn says, no, you've got to stop and you've got to wait. So there may be some reason that mother or family is requiring you to wait, or you have to wait with regards to either this new home you want, or a situation in a home. That's what I'm thinking here. I mean, Sagittarius, you're a positive sign. Think outside the box. You're great for thinking outside of the box. Make it a win-win situation and you should be fine. But that total new moon is off the charts awesome for you. So really leverage that, right? Leverage that to especially start maybe your own business, expressing your authentic self, or any kind of creative project's going to be, it's got rockets underneath it, with it being in the first sign of the zodiac, Aries, right? Take care, Sagittarius. Hi, everyone. It's Elizabeth here from Alpes Astrology. I'd like just to give you a little more detail about what I do with regards to the services I can offer you. Certainly, I suggest that if you've not had your chart ever done, this would be a good time to do it. Contact me. All my contact details are below, and we can talk to each other back and forth and arrange something for you. So I offer different services. I offer a full astrology report for two of my services. One is where I look at both your natal chart and your progress chart in detail. I accompany that with a physical chart, as well as your charts that I'm looking at for that year. I do what's called a transit chart, which really involves your progressed chart for that year in combination with your natal chart. I give you a report for that as well. Typically, I'd be updating an existing report for you. I have a lot of clients that come back to me yearly. And then the other service that I offer is a combination of taking a quick look at the astrology. Typically, it would be a year or 2 year, what stands out for me, looking at that, and then adding in at the end a tarot card reading to accompany it. I record that and send that to you pre-recorded. So that's not a live session. The other two that I do are live session. And then I offer obviously custom. I do a lot of picking marriage dates, compatibility. I typically use what are called Davison charts or synastry as well, where I can combine two charts to see how do these two charts of these people work together. More often, it's going to be sort of romantic relationships, but it can also be business relationships too. How well do we work together type thing by producing one chart. So I do all that. As I said, I would love to do your chart. Contact me below, and we can work together to make that happen for you.